Hey YouTube land. I have not done a video diary in a long time, I realized. I think the last one I did was 1 month after surgery. And I am now, what's today? Today is, where's my calendar? Oh, that's not today. Um, Today is April 28th, is that right? No, I'm sorry, it's April 29th. And in about 7 days, on May 7th, I guess that's 8 days, um, I will be exactly 4 months out from surgery. So a lot's happened since the last video diary I did, which was 1 month out of surgery. Where to start? I know I was speaking about the infection that I had on my front incision, and that's thankfully all cleared up, all healed up. That sucker took 2 full months to heal up. Everyone said, oh, this will zip up in like 2 weeks. No, they lied. Maybe I'm just a slow healer. I don't know. But that was a colossal pain in the neck is what that was. And I'm really glad to have that behind me. So that's all behind me and taken care of, and thank God, because that was not fun, packing that wound twice a day. Quite honestly, the visiting nurse that was coming, she was only coming twice a week. So out of the 14 times I needed to do it, she was doing it twice. But the visiting nurse said multiple times, you really don't need to do it twice a day. You can do it just once a day, and that's fine. And believe me, there were days that I said, you know what, I'm very happy just doing this once a day. And who knows, maybe that's why it took longer. I don't know. But so that was that. I went off of the Lyrica, and I don't know where I was with the Lyrica when I last spoke with you. I don't know if I was still on it or if I had tried to go off of it. When I went off of it, I think I had a little tiny bit of a problem with withdrawal, but not bad. There were three incidences where I was sick, and the first one was a migraine. And then the next night, I was really nauseous. It felt very familiar, just like the withdrawal from the tramadol. And then, I don't know if it was the following night or 2 nights later, I was a little nauseous again. And then that was the end of it, so I was really happy to be done with that. The Lyrica, I think I have mentioned this before, kind of messed up my vision a little bit. And as a matter of fact, I just went to the ophthalmologist tonight for the second time. I went a month ago. I've been having a lot of problems with double vision. There was when I was on the Lyrica and for a while after the Lyrica, I had a lot of problems with blur and double vision. And these are my glasses from before surgery, long before surgery. Like, I got these glasses about 3 years before surgery, I think, at least. And this is a very mild prescription. I think they said it's the lowest prescription that there is, but I find them very helpful. I actually have two pairs. I have all these glasses all over the place now because I've been having all these problems. So this is the one pair, and this is the other pair. I think I look very teacher-like when I do that, don't I? But those help with getting rid of the blur. They don't help with getting rid of the double. And I went and got a pair of readers. I'll show you my readers. These are the over 40 glasses that I now have. Okay, there we go. There's a lot of reflection there. Again, they help with the blur. They don't help with the double. And readers are only meant for reading up close. So I don't use these for distance. I use the other ones for distance and these for up close. But both of them essentially do the same thing, and both of them leave me with the same problem. So I went to the ophthalmologist a month ago. He wanted me to come back and have me see a specialist who deals with eye muscles, because it seemed that I was having a problem with, bringing the images, each image from each eye together. Maybe there was some muscle weakness, and there was no question that was a result of the Lyrica. It was almost immediate. As soon as I started taking the Lyrica, I was really having some serious vision problems, and they got worse and worse. I was only on it for a month, but they were pretty significant. Every time I posted on Facebook or sent a text message, there were like all of these um, typos and errors and spelling errors, and everyone's like, how is it that having spinal surgery made you unable to spell things? I'm like, you don't understand. I can't see. Um, and the other piece of it is that I didn't have my computer most of the time. I'm actually on a new computer because my computer just gone, done. Um, and my little, where's my phone? I lost my phone. But my phone, here it is. It's little screen, and I'm like trying to type on the little screen, and I can't see what I'm doing, and I'm hitting letters that are next to each other, and autocorrect just went and had a field day on me, and I was just always posting things with spelling errors, and I'm a teacher, and I probably shouldn't have spelling errors, but I just told everybody I get a free pass because I'm on Lyrica and I can't see anything. So after getting off the Lyrica, um, it took a really long time for my vision to go back. It was not immediate, and I was really worried that it did some permanent damage. And I'm not altogether certain it didn't. I would say I've been off Lyrica for at least 2 months, and I'm still having problems with double vision. So tonight when I spoke to the doctor, he actually made me feel really good about everything, because sometimes I'm like, well, maybe I'm just being too lazy. Maybe I'm just not trying hard enough to focus. Um, and interestingly, not only do I sometimes see double, I can actually see triple sometimes, which I didn't even think was possible. I figure you've only got two eyes. Why would you see triple? So now I'm thinking I'm making stuff up in my head. But the doctor was able to see with his own eyes that I had a convergence problem, and he was able to measure it, and he said it was moderate. And the good news is that I don't need new glasses, which thank goodness, because that's expensive. Um, and the even better news is that this is the one problem, the one vision problem that you can probably fix on your own by doing exercises. When you hold like the pencil, they call them pencil push-ups, and you kind of like hold it away and you bring it closer and closer and closer until until you can't see it, and then you have to focus again and then bring it closer. So I'll do a whole bunch of pencil push-ups and hope my vision comes back. What else? I've been thinking about what kinds of advice or words of wisdom someone going into spinal surgery would benefit from my experience, and there were a couple of things I think are important to mention. The first is that when you talk to your surgeon about how he or she is going to do the surgery, ask them if they'll be cutting through any muscle tissue. I think that's a really, really big piece to an easier recovery. If they cut through the muscle, it's going to take longer for you to be pain-free. You're going to have more pain. You're going to have more pain for a longer time. You'll need more pain medication. And as we all know, sometimes pain medication can really be a problem for many different reasons, and certainly for me it is. So that for me is an important thing. I'm very, 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 very grateful that my surgeon made his incisions very specifically so that he went between the muscles. And he kind of separated the muscles and worked in between them rather than cutting through the muscle. And I think that had a tremendous amount to do with me not having a lot of pain after surgery. If I look back on the surgery and talk about what kind of pain I had incision pain. That was the biggest deal within the first week after surgery. And initially it is intense. It's intense incision pain. I chose to not have any pain medication for the first 2 days. And my mother was horrified, and everyone's like, oh my God, how can you do it? But the truth is, I was able to tolerate the pain a lot better than I was able to tolerate the nausea and the vomiting. And I don't regret that decision at all. After 2 days, I remember in the evening, the doctors came in and said, we can't just let you languish here in pain. We need to find something that works for you. So they put together a pain management team. And I was, at that point, getting kind of tired of the pain, and I agreed to whatever they came up with. And I know I'm reiterating some stuff here, but the truth is, if if I look back on the situation, my father had asked me, if you had to do it all over again, or if you actually do have to have another surgery someday, what would you do about pain medication? Would you go on it, or would you stay away from it, knowing what you went through? I said, if I had a crystal ball and I saw what I had, and I could see what I was going to go through with the pain medication, I would have avoided it altogether. I wouldn't have taken anything other than uh, Advil, which is what I was taking, and Lyrica. The the incision pain that I had was temporary. I would say within a week it was very tolerable, if not gone. So I could have sucked it up for another 3 or 4 days if I really needed to. I could have done it. And now looking back, I really wish I had, because I really think the reason I had an infected front incision is because I went through the withdrawal. I think I popped some stitches when I was shaking. I think being in a cold, clammy sweat and not being able to take care of myself, not being able to even bathe for several days, I think that led to the infection. And if I hadn't gone through the withdrawal, I think the incision would have been fine, and I would have avoided a lot of trouble for myself. So I would have avoided the tramadol altogether. Looking back on it now, I think I can say that honestly. Um, what I could not tolerate was, about a week after surgery, was the sciatic pain that I was having. That was also extremely intense, and I do not regret going on the Lyrica, even though it may have caused me some vision problems. It seems that those vision problems are fixable and temporary, and that pain was so bad, there's no way I could have tolerated it very long. So I do not regret going on the Lyric at all, and it was actually very, very helpful. Um, what other words of wisdom? They, there's more than one way to cause the bones to fuse. You can use bone that comes from your own body, and if they go that route, they're going to take that bone from your hip. I think they shave it off from somewhere in your hip. And not only does that cause another surgical site with another incision, but it's going to be very, I've heard, I didn't have that, but I've heard it's very painful. And sometimes you have pain for the rest of your life in that spot. Um, you probably stand a good chance of fusion, of a successful fusion, because it's your own body, it's your own cells, it's nothing foreign. Um, so that's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it, they can take bone from a cadaver. They could use cadaver bone, which, as you know, means from someone who has died. And I don't. That makes me a little nervous because it's dead tissue. I mean, I don't know how long. I don't know how long they have before they can take cadaver bone and use it for someone. I don't know what I don't know anything about the numbers of successful fusions from using your own bone or using cadaver bone. But a lot of people do go with cadaver bone because they don't want to have it taken from their hip because it's going to hurt. And it's probably going to hurt a lot. So I understand why someone would do that. But there is a third option, and this is what they did with me. And I think that this is really the gold standard these days. And I think it's also a relatively recent innovation, but they use something called BMP, and I honestly don't know what that stands for off the top of my head. I'd have to look it up. But it's a synthetic substance that they put in the cage, that little plastic piece that's now where my disc was. It has two hollow spaces in it. Those two hollow spaces are filled with that BMP, and I've seen video of them using it, and it looks kind of spongy, I guess is the word. I'm not sure if that's the right word. And they soak it with, I think, some kind of growth hormone, and it encourages bone growth. And so the bone, the top vertebrae and the bottom vertebrae, will grow through those two channels and fuse so that the whole thing becomes one piece. And I think that that has a pretty high success rate. Again, I don't know anything about numbers, and I haven't done a tremendous amount of research on it. I would recommend I would recommend looking into all three options, asking a lot of questions about them, doing a lot of research. I think BMP is the way to go. They use that on me. They use that on my mother. Um, Surgeries these days, back surgeries these days, are so much better than they used to be, even 5 years ago. They've really come a long way. They've really perfected this surgery. And a lot of people, those of you who are looking at a spinal surgery, I'm sure you've had a lot of people say to you, don't do it. It's the worst thing you can do. You'll regret it. You'll have pain the rest of your life. Those people are remembering perhaps either their own surgery or someone else's surgery that may have happened 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago. And it's not like that anymore. It really isn't. They've come a long, 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 long way. And I think this BMP is just one of the things that has improved the outcome of these fusion surgeries tremendously. So I would recommend going with the BMP. And I would recommend asking about whether or not your surgeon is going to cut through muscle. Um, I think that should be avoided. I think you have a much easier recovery when they don't cut through the muscle itself. And those are really the only things that I wanted to kind of highlight. I am doing really, really well. I went back to work. Today is Tuesday. I went back to work this past Friday, which was a weird day to go back to work on a Friday, I know. But I'm a teacher, and we had spring break last week, and we had such a crazy winter that we had to make up snow days, and so they had us all come in on the Friday at the end of spring break. So I came in then, and I would say Monday, yesterday, was my first like real day back at work, because Friday only about a third of the students were there, and it was a shorter day than I usually have. And um, at any rate, how am I doing? It's been more physically challenging than I expected it to be. And I mean, I guess I knew that it was going to be physically challenging, but what I'm having a bigger problem with is not so much getting through the day, because I can do that. But after work, I then have to go to physical therapy because my surgeon wouldn't let me start physical therapy until 3 months in. And that's exactly when I was planning on going back to work, but I postponed going back to work for another 3 weeks. So I was able to get 3 out of the 6 weeks of physical therapy under my belt before going back to work, but I still have another 3 weeks to go. And that's what I'm finding so difficult. Now, this week may have been a difficult week because I had 3 appointments, a faculty meeting, and now I have my students' play to go to that I really want to go to. So physical therapy just, and all those things have to happen. Like all those things were priorities. I couldn't really cancel any of those things. So um, I did not go to physical therapy yesterday because I came home really hurting and so exhausted I couldn't even keep my eyes open. And that's the problem I'm having. I come home and I am done. And then I have to go for physical therapy. And, physical therapy right now for me consists of almost 2.5 hours. Each time I go, the first hour is aqua therapy, and I'm really not enjoying aqua therapy. And mainly that's because I don't like getting wet. I don't even own a bathing suit. So when I go to the aqua therapy, I put on bicycle shorts and a t-shirt, and I get into the pool, which is like a big hot tub basically. And I do exercises that seem kind of silly to me, to be honest with you, but I do them. Um, and when I say silly, I just feel like they don't do much. But maybe that's just what I need to do right now. Then I get out of the pool and I have to go into the shower. I have to take off these wet clothes, which feel disgusting. I have to put all these wet clothes in a plastic bag and take them home with me. I'm going through two sets of clothing every time I have physical therapy, which is, 3 times a week. So I'm doing a ton of laundry. And so then after I take the shower, get all that chlorinated water off of me, because if I don't get that off of me, I smell it for days. Then I have to go do the land-based physical therapy. So they have me working on, core exercises, and they stretch me, which hurts a lot. But I know that that's necessary. And then the good part, they do the stim. I love the stim. I'm so excited. I'm getting my own stim machine. I'll talk about that another time probably. The first time I did aqua therapy, I went home, and I don't know if it was a result of the aquatherapy or of something else entirely, but I wound up with tremendous pain in my back right next to my spine. So much pain that I couldn't take a breath without not only without pain, but I couldn't even take the full breath. I couldn't do it physically. And I really truly thought that a rib had slipped out. And I didn't even know that that could happen, except that my sisters had that happen at least once, if not a couple times. So I was like, oh gosh, that's what happened. Wouldn't it be funny if we had the same genetically loose rib or something? Yeah. Um, so I wound up going to a chiropractor for that because I figured, well, if I've got a rib slipped out, he's going to have to put it back. And I was really scared. Turned out it wasn't a rib slipped out of place, which I was very grateful for, but it was actually a muscle spasm. There were these little muscles that connect the vertebrae to each other, and one of those was in spasm. So that was the good news because, he could do things with stim and, heat and Advil, all that stuff combined together, and giving myself a little break from the physical therapy. I was able to get that muscle spasm under control. But in talking to the uh, chiropractor, he's the one who's going to help get me the stim machine. It's going to be both muscle stim and nerve stim, so I have the option, and I'm excited about that. It's a portable unit, and here's the best part: insurance should hopefully pay for it. I mean, it's not that expensive. He told me they're anywhere between I think maybe $50 to $100. I'm sure they go higher than that. The ones they have in the physical therapy place and the ones they have at the chiropractor's office, those are much bigger, much more expensive, more powerful. Um, the ones that you have at home, less so. And that's okay. Um, so hopefully I'll get one of those. I'll find out tomorrow, I guess, if insurance will cover it. So yeah, I've been doing physical therapy, but starting work this week, it just wasn't working out. I came home yesterday, couldn't go. I waited until the last possible minute, and I finally picked up that phone and called them. I said, I need a break. I can't do this today. And then I had appointments today. I have appointments tomorrow. I have the play on Thursday night, and so I won't go again till Friday. That's almost a full week without physical therapy. And I'm giving myself a guilt complex about it because I feel like I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. But maybe that's just this week, and I need to cut myself a little break. And I keep telling myself that, and everyone else keeps telling me that. And maybe next week will be a little easier. So we'll see how that goes. But physical therapy doesn't seem that hard when you're doing it, but when you get home, you hurt. And I guess that's normal, but that's one of the hard pieces for me, especially now that I'm going back to work. I really would have liked it if I could have gotten all 6 weeks of physical therapy done before I went back to work, but he wouldn't let me start any earlier than 12 weeks, so that's that. So yeah, I went back to work. That's going well, except that I'm so tired. I am achy at the end of the day, but if I can come home and just rest, I'm fine. It's not always going to work out that way. I have physical therapy. But if I can just suck it up for the next 3 weeks and get through it, hopefully I'll get through it, and that'll be the end of it. I'm not on any medication. Sometimes if I'm really hurting, I'll take Advil. That's it. I mean, I take Requip for restless leg syndrome, but that's got nothing to do with my back. I just find it helpful. And I'm doing well. I'm feeling stronger all the time. A while ago, I was having trouble being in a position other than either perfectly straight up like this, sitting straight up, or being perfectly flat. And I'm beyond that now, and I'm really grateful for that, because sometimes you just want to do exactly what I'm doing right now. Just kind of chill in bed and sit up against your headboard and watch TV or be on the computer. And I was struggling with that for a while. I was really uncomfortable. And so if I wanted to be in bed, I had to be flat on my back and trying to look up at my computer. I have one of these computer tables that kind of slide under the bed and over the bed. That it was kind of difficult to see, but now I can. And other than that, I think everything's going swimmingly, and I definitely am happy that I had this surgery. I felt relief from the pain that I was having before surgery. That pain was gone immediately. And it was hard for me to recognize that it was gone because I had such intense incision pain, and I wasn't taking medication for a while for that. But looking back, that's all it was incision pain, and that goes away relatively quickly. Then there was the sciatic pain. The Lyrica took care of that. I was only on it for a month, went off of it, and I didn't need to go back on it because it was kind of an experiment when I went off of it. Like I wasn't sure if I could go off of it yet, but we tried it and it worked, and I didn't go back on it. And that's it. And my mother's doing really, really well with her back surgery too. Her surgeon did not prescribe physical therapy for her, and I'm quite frankly a little jealous because I really wish my surgeon was one of those surgeons that said, "Oh, we're not going to worry about physical therapy." Because I've heard of other people, same thing. Their surgeon didn't think that it was necessary. I almost feel like it's not necessary, but I'm willing to go through it to say that I did it, and I don't know. No one can say I didn't do what I was supposed to do. Maybe that's what it. I don't know. It's silly, but I will definitely be glad when it's done. Um, I still have a weight restriction. I'm not allowed to lift more than 20 pounds, but I can twist and I can bend now, which, quite frankly, I was doing all along anyway. Um, I'm a little bit concerned about the physical therapy thing because I feel like I tend to go to two different people, and sometimes I feel like one hand doesn't know what the other's doing, and they tell me opposite things, and that kind of bothers me, and I think I'm going to have to say something about that. Or switch physical therapy places. That might be something that I have to do. So we'll see how it goes, and I will report back. I have 2 months left of school total, and then I have summer vacation, so we'll see how I do with that. And next week we have the big standardized tests, NJ-ASK testing, and I'm hoping that the district allows me some special dispensation to sit down occasionally because as a proctor of the exam, we're not allowed, the teachers aren't allowed to sit down really. We have to be pacing around the room very slowly and keeping an eye on everything. And that's just like, it's like 2 or 3 hours where you are on your feet and moving, which for most people probably isn't an issue. But after spinal surgery, it's an issue. So I'm hoping that I get kind of special permission to sit down once in a while because I really need to. I find that my ergonomic rolly teacher chairs are what I need to sit on. I found out the hard way if I was trying to sit in one of the students' chairs. No bueno, not good. That hurt. That first day that I went back to work, I was sitting in one of the students' chairs for a while, and that was causing me a good deal of pain, and I went home really hurting. So, but I find if I sit in my teacher chair, it's pretty good. I can tolerate things a lot better. I think that's everything. So, more to come, good things to come, and I'll report back.